Ryan Gosling might be one of the last true movie stars. This guy just aura farms box office returns. Whenever he has a movie come out, he does great. I went to see Project Hail Mary, for example, and on opening night, every single showing from 7 to 10 p.m. was basically sold out, and it was playing every 30 minutes. We're introduced to our protagonist, Grace, who wakes up in a sweaty, gross life support bag. He's confused and dazed, struggling to speak and walk from being in a cryo-sleep for years. He begins making his way throughout the ship to understand why is he here. He has no recollection of who he is or where he came from, just a man in the middle of space with no idea. Then we cut to a flashback sequence that takes place years prior, of scientists noticing that the sun is dimming, linked to an infrared Petrova line. Stretching from the sun to Venus, this will trigger a catastrophic global ice age and extinction within decades. And then we cut to Grace. We see that he's an elementary school teacher having another normal day with his class when one of his students asks about the current issue. He's not too sure how to answer it other than the world has their best scientists on the job. At the end of the school day, he's approached by a woman in his classroom who's working for all the world's governments with near unlimited authority, a lady named Eva Stratt, who's a no-nonsense former ESA administrator. Stratt recruits Grace, who was a former molecular biologist who quit academia after some controversy. They bring him to a top-secret lab to help research what's causing astrophage to dim the Earth's sun and how it can be stopped. Grace discovers astrophage's biology and breeding cycle in the lab. He's initially reluctant, but he rejoins the project when he realizes his students' futures are at stake. The project, codenamed Hail Mary, is to build a one-way starship fueled and bred by astrophage, the only viable propulsion source for the trip. They only have enough fuel, though, to make the outbound journey, and findings will return via small, unmanned canisters named after the Beatles. Grace helps design the ship and train the crew, but isn't originally slated to go. Right before the launch, an astrophage experiment goes incredibly wrong, killing the primary scientist and backup crew. With no time to train replacements, Stratt forces Grace, who is genetically suitable for long-term coma and has the necessary expertise, to go as the lone scientist. But Grace refuses. He says he's not a hero, and he openly admits he's a coward. Stratt has him sedated and kidnapped, placed aboard the Hail Mary with 2 volunteer astronauts, and an amnesia drug is administered so he won't panic during the multi-year trip, and the ship launches. Now in the present, he pieces together that he's on a solo mission called Project Hail Mary. The Earth's sun is dying because of the astrophage, and the goal is to reach the planet called Tau Ceti, figure out why that star isn't infected, and send space probes with collected data named after the Beatles back with a solution. But Grace detects another ship during his journey, an alien vessel he nicknames Blip A. It belongs to an Iridian from the 40 Iridian system. The alien pilot is a 5-legged, eyeless, spider-like engineer that he nicknames Rocky, and has been orbiting Tau Ceti alone for 46 Earth years. He's a sole survivor of his crew as well. When the 2 ships dock, Grace and Rocky rapidly build communication and a strong friendship. Rocky is brilliant at engineering and math, and Grace at biology and creative problem solving. They share their backstories, cultures, and realize they have complementary skills. They name Tau Ceti Adrian after Rocky's late partner. They hypothesize that Adrian's atmosphere contains a natural predator of astrophage that keeps its population in check. The expedition to Adrian and discovering a living microorganism called Taumiba. So now Grace and Rocky collaborate on a daring sample collection mission. Rocky builds a 10-kilometer xenonite chain with a sampler at the end, but disaster strikes during the retrieval process. The ship spins violently, Grace is badly injured, and Rocky risks his own life, exposing himself to the lethal oxygen and heat to rescue Grace. They both nearly die, but survive through mutual heroism. After they recover from being hurt, Grace and Rocky analyze the samples they retrieved, and it reveals a microorganism named Taumiba, and that they need to selectively breed a hardy N2-resistant strain. Rocky also finds out that Grace won't be able to make the trip back home to Earth, and he generously gives Grace the amount of astrophage required to return home. But a crisis emerges. The selectively bred Taumiba has mutated, and it penetrates through xenonite containers. Grace fixes it on the Hail Mary, but Rocky's ship is almost certainly entirely made of xenonite, and the Taumiba will eat his fuel and strand him forever. Grace faces an impossible choice: return to Earth alone or rescue Rocky. He chooses friendship and heroism. He turns the Hail Mary around, rescues Rocky, and brings him aboard his ship. He sends the beetle probes back, carrying samples of Taumiba for the farms that they can create on Earth and Irid to stop the astrophage virus. We jump to 16 years later. The astrophage has been eradicated both on Irid and Earth. Earth's sun returns to full brightness, and Grace lives permanently on Irid in a custom-built Earth-like habitat constructed by grateful Iridians. Rocky reunites with his people and remains Grace's closest friend. And that's basically the entire film. And some of the greatest parts about this film are the practical effects. They're one of the greatest things I've seen in a long time. A lot of the sets were really put together with minimal use of green screen, just for giant space exteriors, really. And it looks really good. You really feel like you're in the atmosphere. During the CGI sequences on Adrian, the anti-gravity was so well done, using wire work, gimbals, and a 360 camera to achieve that weightlessness effect. Most of the sets were practically built, especially the ship hulls. Watching Grace navigate through the entire ship is very cool to see. And it's a really nice change from the constant CGI slop we're so used to seeing in MCU films, for example, where production studios force VFX teams to work overtime and the quality drops immensely. A great example of that is the Black Widow shot where Florence Pugh's character is yelling before she gets blasted off the edge of a helicopter or something. And Spy Kids 3 CGI looks better than that. Rocky was also a practical and full functioning puppet with little CGI used just for minor things. And as a big fan of the Muppets and the Jim Henson Creature Shop and the 1990s Ninja Turtle movies, I've always liked puppets and things like that. It's really cool whenever they incorporate animatronics as well. You wouldn't even be able to tell unless someone told you that he was a puppet. The movie is actually hilarious as well, but it's also so sad at the same time. The balance between the humor and the emotional drama is perfect. Rocky's confusing thumbs up for thumbs down. It's so funny and cute, but other parts are so heart-wrenching. They make you want to cry and bawl your eyes out, especially when Rocky risks his own life to save Grace. Him breaking out of his own ball to release the fuel storage might be one of the most intense parts of the films. For a moment, you think they're not going to make it, but he's able to do it. Watching Rocky burn from the oxygen and squeal while he hits the button to save Grace is probably one of the most emotional moments. It's so funny because you think about it and you're like, I'm crying over a rock saving a guy. But they articulate Rocky so well, you can just relate to their dynamic right off the bat. They build this perfect partnership that bounces off each other. Whenever you see them struggling to save their planets, it's really emotional, and that has a lot to do with the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and the puppeteer James Ortiz. Having that actual physical puppet there really helps Ryan bring out the performance, instead of looking at a tennis ball, for example. And Rocky's so cute and cuddly for some reason. It kind of reminds you of E.T. He's so cute and he's so thoughtful, but he's also kind of gross in the same way. You love him, you want to see him thrive and succeed, and they keep each other company on the spaceship. Talking, not being lonely, laughing, joking around, something that really takes the serious, potentially fatal experience and turns it into something lighthearted and fun. Ryan Gosling also said something great the other day. He said it's not your job to keep them open, it's our job to make things that make it worth you coming out. And that perfectly sums up a lot of Hollywood's issues right now. People aren't going to the movie theaters because they're not good quality movies that people want to see. Project Hail Mary is a great example of a film with such spectacular visuals and a great story that makes you want to see it on the big screen. It draws you out and it makes you want to go to the theater and spend that money. By the time you get tickets and popcorn, you're already $50 to $60 in, so it has to be something that makes it worth it. Another side note that's given me a lot of hope is Ryan Gosling is having great chemistry with an alien, so in a way, it gives me a little hope that for the Star Wars movie he stars in, it's going to be fun, and it's going to have a dynamic that has comedy, sadness, and drama. And if they can do that well with a non-human character in this, then I would be all for it, as long as it's written well. So maybe there's some potential with that Star Wars movie. But anyway, do I recommend going to see Project Hail Mary in the theater? Absolutely. It was a great time. It's got laughs, it's got tears, it's got a sense of fulfillment from the visuals to the storytelling, being there with your friends and your family. It's a really communicative and great experience. If you've already seen it and you enjoyed it, let me know what you think down below. What was your favorite part? What could they have done better? I'd really love to hear what you think. Overall, Project Hail Mary is a great movie, and it's a double thumbs down from me. Shout out to Rocky. I hope you go see it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.